Welcome to Twitch and Box Sports Talk, everyone. It's week 5 at the Cannon Compound, hosted by Shannon, the Sledgehammer Cannon. In lieu of Greg, Scary Gary Hopkins' absence this week. Today we're going to talk about things that make you twitch, injuries, big-time players, playoff brackets for week 5, award winners, picks for week 6, the state of the Raiders, Broncos, and Steelers. So, here we go. Welcome to week 5.
Appreciate you having us out, Shannon.
Absolutely.
LSV, hope you're having fun out there in Chanute today. Out there training the future K-Dot workers of the world. First thing we're going to roll into here is what made us twitch from the week. Fan favorite gets lots of comments on our stuff here about what other people made them twitch throughout the week. So I'm going to throw it to the Twitch himself. Twitch, what made you twitch during week 4 of the NFL slate?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind, I watched a bunch of games on Sunday, and one of the better games was the Colts-Rams game. Came down to a one-score 27-20 win for the Rams. But the Colts had 2 touchdowns already called back due to penalty, and about a 70-yard touchdown. I'm probably going to say his first name wrong, Adonai Johnson? Mitchell, excuse me. See, I didn't even know who he was. But for the Colts, breaks one open and pulled to Deshaun Jackson, and about the 1 yard line just lets go of the ball too early, ends up being a touchback, and the Rams win a 1-score game. So otherwise, we could be talking this week about the Colts beating a very good Rams team on the road and being 4-0. So this 2025, that's happened enough times through the years.
Yeah. You think eventually they'd just tuck the ball in the end zone.
Twitch again.
Yeah. Barry Sanders didn't hand the ball to the ref. But
we're in Emporia State, Leon Lett. There's a couple different places you can choose for that. You know who that is. Emporia State alumni, stud, Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl winner. But he's known for 2 different plays. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The one where he you know what I'm talking
Super
about?
Bowl. Yeah.
One with the Super Bowl, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It didn't matter at that point, though.
No, but him recovering a fumble and running back, and he had his hands clear out right by the 1 yard line. He gets the ball stripped out.
Against the Bills?
Yes.
Oh, so when BB chased him down.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he went to ESU.
And then, he was a stud at ESU, and he had a good pro career. But then also he had the Miami Dolphins. I think it was a Christmas Day game or something, but they blocked a kick. But then, if you leave the ball, don't touch it, then it's a dead ball. Well, he picked it up and then fumbled it, and then Miami scored for the game-winning. So, or I think maybe it was a dead ball. I don't remember what the situation was, but I just remember he's known for 2 of the biggest gaffes. Anyway, getting off on a tangent on week 5.
What made me twitch this last week is a tough loss for the Buccaneers of the Eagles, but stud rookie wide receiver Bunke catches a touchdown pass early in the third, and he celebrates kind of too early to the end zone. He kind of stops and walks into the end zone. And then at the end of the game, the Buccaneers are driving to win, and another 5 seconds puts them in field goal range with how they were moving the ball, but they simply just ran out of time there, being able to stop the clock. So, it's a rookie mistake there. You celebrating too much. Obviously, it was a big touchdown. It put the Bucs kind of right back in the mix. But across the board, probably won't happen again. I'm guessing Todd Bowles ripped his ass today or yesterday in film and said, hey, man, can't be doing that, especially in the NFL. Every second matters. We see that every week. Games coming down to the last second, field goals or plays. So that was what made me twitch this week when I saw it happen. I was like, oh, that's going to cost him. And then at the end of the day, it came back and cost him at the end. But, Shannon, you got anything that made you twitch this week from the NFL slate?
Oh, well, being the Raiders fan, it was a hard week for us, for sure. We had all our star players working, clicking off all cylinders. Ashton Jeanty killed it. 3 touchdowns. 1 for a passing touchdown, or catching touchdown. 2 for rushing touchdowns. A big 64-yard highlight reel for his first introduction into the NFL. And, he got his bearings that day. But at the same time, Max Crosby on the defensive side, he had a hell of a day himself, too. Yeah. First interception of his NFL career. And at the end of the day, we could not pull it off at the last-second field goal to win the game against the Chicago Bears. It was blocked. So, with the special teams playing a big advantage of these first crucial weeks of the NFL, we got stung by that bug that we call between a win and a loss.
Yeah, lots of block kicks again this week. Just like Greg had last week. Special teams makes everything. That probably would have made him twitch again this week was the block kicks, but maybe eventually they'll stop blocking kicks.
Philadelphia was starting off that huge game against Tampa Bay with another kick after winning that game against the Rams the week before, the way they did in blocking 2 kicks. And then, a couple other teams that had consecutive weeks with having a block kick. So
let's roll into players of the week. Outstanding players that we had this last week coming into week 4. My offensive player of the week for this last week, I'm going to give it to Puka Nacua, Rams wide receiver. 13 receptions, 117 yards. 1 touchdown, longest for 31 yards, averaging 13.1 yards a catch. So proving that he is wide receiver 1, and everybody thought he might be a new version of Cooper Kupp. At this rate, he is better than Cooper Kupp in my opinion. He always seems to be open down the field. He can run any route on the route tree. And Matthew Stafford also was my second offensive pick of the week for 375 and 3 tutties. So Matt Stafford slinging the ball helps when you have a veteran quarterback throwing it to him. But Puka Nacua came out every week consistently and put up big yards, big numbers, even in their loss. So that's my offensive player of the week. Twitch, who do you got for your offensive player of the week?
Well, that's a solid pick. We were talking about before the podcast about I believe that he's the first wide receiver to start off the year with 40 catches in the first 4 games of the year. So that's an insane pace. Cooper Kupp, obviously, in his time in the prime, a couple years ago when the Rams won the Super Bowl, whatever, he ended up with 140-some catches or 30 catches. But the difference for Puka is I feel like he's a more complete wide receiver. Like Cooper was that slot guy, get open, good in the middle of the field, he's still quick. Whereas Puka's, he can make the contested catches, he can beat you one-on-one, he's not afraid to go in the middle. Anyway, I had a couple different people in mind. Honorable mentions for me this week would be former Steeler George Pickens, showing up for Dallas, and then Xavier Worthy showing up for Kansas City. But I'm actually going to go with, not just because we're sitting here in Shannon's compound, but I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty and his breakout performance. Tough loss, good response for the Bears, getting 2 straight. But Jeanty finished with 138 yards rushing and 18 receiving yards, so about 155 total yards on top of 3 touchdowns that day. So he was my offensive performer of the week.
Yeah, it's because he went back to the Michael Myers stance, man.
Exactly.
It's the only reason why. Chip Kelly should have let him do it all year.
The whole year. Don't change what is working.
Mm-hmm. Especially at the NFL, faster guys, you make the guy comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Genty's back on the scene, boys.
I love it.
It's kind of scary. My defensive player of the week this last week, I have Vita Vea making a big impact on the Eagles game, even though they lost. He had 3 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, and 10 QB hurries. So he definitely helped Harrison Reddick get his, I think, 1.5 sacks he had. So across the board, Vita Vea in that middle, he stopped the tush push. I'm guessing, this is obviously just pure speculation, but I'm guessing when they did the quick pitch to Barkley for the fake tush push, I'm guessing that had something to do with Vita Vea's big ass being right there in the middle and saying, oh, that's a big guy. Maybe we can't run right over him. Right. But Vita Vea having a big impact on it, coming back off of his injury that he had. He's got some lower body stuff going on, but Vita Vea coming back out and doing what he does.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I want to go with my own guy again for the second week in a row. I want to go with TJ. Another interception, another sack, 3 sacks after being quiet through 6 consecutive games. So that's back-to-back weeks with interceptions for him. Also, I think he ended up with 7 quarterback pressures, so you could see him showing up. But my defensive player, we've talked about him a lot, especially coming in at the beginning of the year. So I thought Aiden Hutchinson, granted, like Cleveland's not known for being the best offensive team, but had multiple hurries, 2 sacks himself on the day, on top of his counterpart. But what's the linebacker's name?
Alonzo, isn't it?
I think so. That's also in the top 10 for sacks, but he had another, like a sack and a half, I think, on Sunday. But just because Hutchinson opening it up, taking up 2 guys. So that was my defensive player of the week. Aiden Hutchinson looking like 20-24 beginning of the season before he got hurt, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, for sure. Hutch, I mean, like we said last week, or we both said last week, Hutch is about as back as he can be right now.
Yeah.
But rolling.
And I think in the season before, so you go back his last season and a couple games last year, it's like Aiden Hutchinson's on that level of the Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt. Like Aiden Hutchinson is one of those dudes. So
yeah, for sure. Rolling into a little bit sadder things here, I guess you could say. make sure you're listening to your making your fantasy lineups here. We have a couple players that are going on the IR/out for a little bit here. Lamar Jackson out for at least 2 weeks with a hamstring injury, lower body injury, kind of not really told exactly what it is yet. Malik Neighbors out for the year with an ACL injury. That's a tough loss for the Giants there. Jackson Dart came out and won the game, but at what cost, losing Malik Neighbors, your number one wide receiver?
Yeah.
That's big time for them. I have a stat about MetLife Field. I'll talk about it later. Joe Alt, offensive tackle for the Chargers, out for the rest of the year. Not the rest of the year, but he's out for a while with a high ankle sprain. And then last night, a gruesome injury to Tyreek Hill. Blew out basically his knee completely. The way it looked, I thought he had a broken leg.
Yeah.
But it comes out, he tore his ACL and basically all the other ligaments that are involved in your knee. If you're squeamish, don't look it up, but you could look at the injury on YouTube, and his leg is at a 90-degree angle opposite of his body.
It was almost not quite as ugly, but for all of us older listeners, like almost as bad looking as the Clinton Portis injury.
Yeah, it was.
Oh gosh.
No,
You know what I'm talking
In Miami.
Yes.
Yeah.
it was not a good look, guys. But
That made me twitch for a different reason.
also, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but shout out Tyreek Hill for being happy about the injury. Not happy about the injury, but the guy was all smiles the whole rest of the time. They had pictures of him in the ambulance, just all happy and jazzed up. So I don't know if they've already given him drugs.
He
or
looked like the Queen of England waving to everybody. He's just like, he could not be happy to be out of Miami. He's like, I'm going to enjoy it.
He's going to enjoy his year off hanging out with his 10 kids.
I don't have to listen. I don't take catch passes from Tua anymore.
Some hospital balls across the middle.
Right.
But those are injury reports. Jalen Daniels might come back this week, so be on the lookout for that one. And basically some big injuries this week, but on knock on wood, not to anything too detrimental across the board. Unlike last week, seemed like last week we had everybody and their mom on the list. But let's roll into we'll talk about our underdog wins this week. We had 6 underdogs plus money if you were better. But teams that were not favored to win actually came back and win. The Falcons winning handily. The Giants winning, beating the Chargers. Steelers beating the Vikings over in Dublin. Jacksonville Jaguars upsetting the 49ers. The Bears beating the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Baltimore Ravens. So, Twitch, what do you have to say about 6 underdog wins rolling into week 4 there?
Well, I think like probably the biggest upset win in those terms would probably, to me, it was nice. Like I said, one of my teams in the NFC has always been kind of the Giants, and it's just I feel like New York just being a sports city, I just feel like it's more fun when they're actually relevant, and it was nice to see them have some life. I did watch the second half of that game and beat a good Chargers team. And Jackson Dart, the stat sheet may not show it, but rushing for another touchdown, rushing for a couple first downs. Scrum enough by time and made good decisions, and it's Jackson Dart's team from here on out now. 4 games, he definitely took command of the huddle. So I was most impressed with that, and they got up early on the Chargers, and so kudos to him. And then I would say probably the biggest win out of those so-called upsets to me would be the Chiefs over the Ravens, not because of like the Chiefs obviously been in 3 straight Super Bowls. It's not, but just how they won and beat it. I know the Ravens are struggling and now Lamar's hurt. But how Kansas City looked, and we'll get to that later. They looked and how they won on Sunday. That was the most impressive upset to me. Just I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, for sure. The Falcons coming out and laying a goose egg the week before, and then coming back this last week and kind of. I don't even know what they were doing. But coming out and kind of handling the Commanders, the score was a lot closer than the game actually was. Yeah. But I was impressed with the Falcons, kind of what we expected them to be. Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown. So any of those guys that bet on Kyle Pitts to score. The Chiefs winning was huge. We talk about that later. The Giants winning was huge. Started the Jackson Dart era, Cam Scababoo era. Quick Giants stat here is the Giants have drafted 6 wide receivers and tight ends in the first 2 rounds since 2014. Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Malik Neighbors. 5 out of 6 of them have had season-ending injuries at MetLife Stadium. And that's just skill guys. It's not talking visiting skill guys.
Sure.
But it's just a wild stat about MetLife. I don't know if the turf's weird or I don't know exactly what's going on there, but it's just crazy stat that maybe we should get new turf in there if you don't want to lose your
It's
stud guys.
wildly
They,
overlooked.
they'd probably say it's a Jets problem.
Yeah, that's the problem with sharing a stadium, I guess. But Shannon, what besides your Raiders losing to the Bears, there you got any takes on those 6 underdog wins from this last week?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was definitely some games that were taken away early that you would have thought that they would just handedly win, but then came back and made it a game. Let's start with the early game with your Steelers. Mm-hmm. That game looked like it was getting out of hand. Mm-hmm. But Vikings came in and they just stuck in there. They have no quit in them. Mm-hmm. And that is scary to see coming down the stretch when you go to, you know, later on this season, of course. Mm-hmm. But if they had an opportunity earlier on to score and put some points on the board, it would have been a crazy reversal of roles at that point. But it didn't happen that way, and this is sports.
Thank goodness.
And exactly. Yeah. So that was a wildly impressive game by the Vikings to come back. The Steelers had them by the chokehold, and they ended up with the victory. So that would be my upset win.
Coming up next, we're gonna repick our award winners for this year, and then after that, we're gonna make our new playoff bracket. So stay tuned. Rolling into our new picks here, our new award winners. We're gonna start out with arguably the most prestigious award you could say for at least quarterbacks nowadays is the MVP. Last year, Barkley made a good run to be offensive or be MVP, but they gave it to Josh Allen, and I have Josh Allen going back-to-back for MVP. Got the Bills to a 4-0 start, 964 yards passing, a 70.2 completion rate percentage, which is his best in his career. 7 touchdowns to 1 interception, and another 159 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. And I'm watching Josh Allen play this year. He seems like he's taken a step where he's not running as much as he did last year. He said, "Okay, I don't need to." He's preserving himself for those later season games. And with the way the Bills are playing right now and the way their offense is rolling, especially with their receivers who have Keon Coleman and like the tight Dalton Kincaid, then James Cook in the run game, I have Josh Allen going back-to-back with MVPs this year. I don't think he's going to lose the steps to somebody. It's his award to lose, in my opinion. But Twitch, who's your MVP pick for this next year?
Well, I'm pretty sure I picked Josh Allen to start the season. I'm not jumping ship now. I mean, you're talking about obviously through the first 4 weeks, short list of true. Like we talked about, top 5 MVP guys. I think it's got to be Allen. He's maybe on the best team. And my other thing is Buffalo's schedule, the way it's set up. I mean, they haven't played other than the Ravens week 1. So they played the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints, but they did what they're supposed to. And like you said, he's getting Coleman, he's getting Shakur, he's getting his guys involved. But he's been very efficient, obviously showing the 70% completion percentage. And so and they're scheduled the rest of the way. I mean, they play New England twice, being in their division. They play the Panthers. They play the AFC South this year. So they play the Falcons, the Panthers, not great defensive teams. And then the Bengals. I mean, the Browns. So my thing is and then of course they play the Jets again. And so just Josh Allen from last year, what I've seen so far this year, and their strength of schedule. And then the other hard teams they play, like Kansas City. Well, I bet both Allen and Mahomes show up for that game. So I just think. I don't want to talk about teams, but my preseason Super Bowl pick, real original, was Bills-Eagles, and that's because I believe in Josh Allen, and I'm not jumping ship now. And so,
Third it. We'll go ahead and jump on that bandwagon right there. I mean, Josh Allen's a beast. He's a monster. He came out of Idaho as a beast and a monster. Was given a chance. Wyoming. I'm sorry. Yes, Wyoming.
I love that term.
Sorry.
That's not to correct you to be a dick. But I've been through Laramie. I said anybody that's never been there, it's a very charming little town.
You're right.
So
the Bucking Broncos.
Yeah.
Yes. You're right. So thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
I just like his style of play. Coming from humble beginnings to who he is as a person out the field to his character and all the things that he does for the community where he lives. is amazing.
100%.
Besides that, on top of that, he is a outstanding performer on the football field. So I have to give it to Josh Allen, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a step further. I'm gonna give him Man of the Year.
Get the Walt Man of the Year
Oh yeah,
and the MVP.
Man of the Year
Oh, yeah.
and MVP. He's gonna pull off 2 of them this year.
He's got some comedic chops too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you want to go through any honorable mentions? You got to put Danny Dimes in there.
Yeah, my dark horse MVP candidate. As of right now, I have Danny Dimes winning it from the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, the guy's just play. He's a better version of Jared Goff, you could say. He's not doing anything special. He's not running around making guys miss, but he's being careful with the ball. He threw 2 picks last week, but he's being better with the ball. He's taking care of it. He's getting it to his guys. Helps when you have a good run game. But Danny Dimes is my dark horse MVP candidate rolling into Week 5 here.
That's good. I think the other guys I would mention, we do talk about him every week. I said, but Baker's been in that short list. I know they started off slow last week, but Baker Mayfield is on that list in my eyes. You just mentioned my other one, maybe a dark horse. Not that I think he'll actually win it, but Jared Goff, after having that first week and losing both coordinators, and then how are they going to respond? And then 3 weeks since against the Bears, the Ravens, and they took care of, that's still a good Browns defense on Sunday. And Goff just did what he normally does. They put up over 30 points or more again for the 3rd straight week. So I think Goff's on that list. Baker, Danny Dimes, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I know they haven't really been consistent on offense, but showing up the first half of this last week and then the second half on that comeback against the Rams, I still think the Eagles have their best football ahead of them
For sure.
And to throw in there, as we transition into the rookies, I'm going to go ahead and throw in Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, if he continues to be the person that he is intended to be, that the Giants want him to be, that he showed up to be on Sunday, he is going to be a offensive powerhouse to be an MVP player against a great Chargers defense that has taken the reins of these Giants, and with the injury with Malik Neighbors, he has the opportunity to be a great quarterback in this league.
Again, I know we got to move on. I do want to put my dark horse. I can't believe we're going to say this as a dark horse. It seems that just goes to show how useful and how tired people are talking about it. But let's not overthink about it. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patty Mahomes, I feel like it's in there too.
Right.
Don't want to talk about it, but goddamn, he's still makes stuff happen.
He reminded everybody. I have to apologize for picking against the Chiefs. I'm sorry, Patrick. Last week,
I knew those odds were too good.
Yeah, but Patrick, I mean, if he comes out and plays like he did last week, the old Mahomes looks driven, and then once they get Rice back and they got Worthy involved, I said, don't sleep on Mahomes. Yeah. The only guy out of all those that's been to multiple Super Bowls, other than Hurts, and with multiple Super Bowl rings already.
Yeah.
So,
Offensive Player of the Year here. Usually a wide receiver, running back award here. I have Jonathan Taylor winning it this year. Through 4 games, he has 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, another 113 through the air, and 1 touchdown. Jonathan Taylor's adding a really good third dimension to that Colts offense, running, getting the ball, so there's a good play action, which helps their quarterback out a lot too. But I don't see Jonathan Taylor is picking it up. Kind of last year, he's kind of going through that lull after their whole contract negotiation. I don't even know what you would call what that was. Disagreement, because he ended up not getting paid anymore. But I have Jonathan Taylor as my Offensive Player of the Year coming into this year.
But you kind of talked about him a couple of minutes ago. I said, but my offense, through 4 games, my Offensive Player of the Year would be Puka Nacua for the Rams. Just at the pace he's at, leads the NFL in receptions by 16 catches through 4 games. Only has 1 touchdown, but over 500 yards. So he's over 100 yards, and at that pace, they're not going to stop throwing to him. So knock on wood if he stays healthy. I think the touchdowns will come, and yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys I thought about. I said Robinson and Gibbs and some of those guys. Cook, your guy, for Dobbins for Denver. I said some good running backs. I said as far as wide receivers, I thought about putting Adunze for Chicago. He's got 5. He leads the NFL with 5 receiving touchdowns on the year. So we've talked about Abuka for the Bucks, looking like a legitimate number 1. We'll see what DK's got 2 touchdowns, but not on that level.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I have Puka. By the time he'll probably have 140 catches and 1,500 yards receiving by the time the season's done. So
yeah, for sure. My dark horse candidate is Puka to win it, to win the Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, number 1 in receiving yards, number 1 in reception so far this year. And he's Matthew Stafford's number 1 wide receiver. And with Matthew Stafford playing on the pace he's playing at, kind of like not on a higher level. Obviously, we're never going to see prime Stafford again. He's old, but he's slinging the rock around the field right now.
He's still balling.
He's still balling. So I think Puka's my dark horse Offensive Player of the Year. I could see him coming in and maybe not. He might not be a Triple Crown winner, but he could be a 2-crown winner and win receptions and receiving yards for sure.
Yeah.
But that takes us into our Defensive Player of the Year. My Defensive Player of the Year is Aiden Hutchinson. He only has 8 tackles, but he has 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And like we talked about earlier, he's on that Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, need to be double-teamed every play. So that's part of the reason he only has 4 sacks. He's opening it up for his other guys on that line to get it. But I think Hutch comes back. Hutch has a chance to come on with Comeback Player of the Year, too. We'll get in that here in a little bit. But I like Hutch winning Defensive Player of the Year there.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm going to stay on my bandwagon. It's like because my first instinct is I want to switch ship and go to Aiden Hutchinson, just because we talk about him every week. And so I think, well, I'm going to stick with it because my guys got 4.5 sacks, and they're going to be on defense a lot this year in Cleveland. So my preseason pick was Myles Garrett, and I think that he's still. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that for now, but I can't tell you how confident I feel about it because I really want to jump ship. But, yeah.
My dark horse is Nick Bonito. He has 4.5 sacks, 9 tackles. I don't have his QB hurries right here, but 4.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. And like we saw last year, he housed 2 pick sixes when they gave him the opportunity to towards the end of the year. So I see him only growing as a player. And obviously I'm biased because I'm a Broncos fan, but the way he came out, and like last night, he seemed to always be in Browning's face, him and Jonathan Cooper, our number 0, kind of coming off the edge. And I saw, this is not me, obviously, because they're not at that level yet, but I saw a guy tweet out and said, wow, I thought I just saw DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller out there on the field, which it was nice. It wasn't necessarily that comparison. They're not at that level yet, but it was finally to see the Broncos to have a good pass rush coming in and finally, getting some sacks and causing some QB pressures. But I think Nick Bonito can be a guy that could be in that Defensive Player of the Year talk about or candidacy.
Yeah, I 1A, 1B for me for between Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson. I said, but not just because I'm a Steelers fan. I said, but it looks like TJ the last couple of weeks has really stepped it up and said he's got forced fumbles, fumble recovery, a couple interceptions, a lot of hurries, and like Nick Herbig's got 2.5 sacks the last couple of weeks for opening it up on the other side. So don't sleep on my boy. He's been a semifinal, or he's been a finalist, runner-up. He should have had 2, but I'm going to get started on that 4-year stretch from 19 to 22. He should have won it twice, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But dark horse, I would have TJ on that list.
Rolling into our picks we didn't make before, but we're making them now because we've seen some product on the field, is our Offensive Player and Defensive Player of the Year. Twitch, who's your Offensive Player of the Year over there? Or Offensive Rookie of the Year, my bad. Okay, no. We're talking about rookies here.
No, sure. Rookies. No, that's okay. I was like, what? Am I in Twilight Zone?
Yeah, my bad.
No, so I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty of the Raiders, just because I thought he was the most pro-ready, and this is the complete package. He's not afraid to go, get the tough yards. He's hard to bring down, low center of gravity like a Marshawn Lynch, kind of smaller guy, so he's also speed and he also busts to the outside. That's why he has the carries and the yards and the touchdowns he had at Boise State. And I think sometimes it's the smaller school and then they play other smaller schools, and there's other guys who just have like an NFL body. Like, that sounds weird,
yeah,
but
that's true.
Like, but I Jackson Dart's my dark horse, just because I said I do believe him coming out of college, and I was impressed with what I saw, and like I said, I don't want to step on your picks. So that's my pick. The guy in Tampa Bay would be. Would be my other one. I said, but I'm gonna go with Jeanty, just because I think that the Raiders found something, and I think by the end of the year he'll have, knock on wood, again, all this, we hope it happens, but bearing injury or staying healthy, Ashton Jeanty's going to have 1,200 total yards.
Yeah.
Is
my Rookie of the Year pick. I really like the Jeanty pick, but I'm going to go Mike Mbuka for the Buccaneers wide receiver. He has 18 receptions on 282 yards and 3 touchdowns. Last week he proved his big playability, but he's also been targeted the most on that offense for just pure targets, and he hasn't brought a lot of them in. Some have been crazy balls from Baker. Some of them been just some bad drops from a rookie. So I think he figures it out, and like last week he showed that he's wide receiver 1. Like Godwin came back and Evans is out. But if Evans can ever come back and they can all stay healthy, that wide receiver core is going to be dangerous. And I think this is a guy that can be Baker's number 1 wide receiver until Baker either resigns or they re-up, or knock on wood, or hopefully nothing happens there. But I like him. And then my dark horse is Jackson Dart as well, because we've only seen him for a week, but the guy came out and balled. I mean, he scored 1 rushing touchdown, and then he had another, I think it was a 45-yard touchdown that got called back for holding. But it was like a Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you guys remember when he put those Browns players in the spin cycle his rookie year, or his year 2. Like he was a good QB run. Ran out of the pocket and scored. So I think if Dart can stay healthy and they can plug some holes without Malik Neighbors there, I think Jackson Dart can be an offensive rookie of the year player for sure. Defensive player of the year. His stats don't really match the title yet, but this was his first week getting pass rush reps. Is Abdul Carter for the Giants, a number 2 overall pick this last year out of Penn State. He's played a lot of true linebacker, but this week they let him rush the passer. He only had half a sack, but he had a lot of QB pressures, and you can see those moves are kind of there. But just this is bad for me, but he's the only rookie that I've seen actually kind of stand out that I've been like, oh, yeah, I remember him. He was a number 2 pick. He might actually get out there and play decent enough. I wish I was talking about the Broncos guy we wasted our first-round pick on, but he hasn't played yet. So, Twitch, who's your defensive rookie of the pick?
I'm going to say Abdul Carter as well, just because a lot of people thought that as far as we talked about being guys that were pro-ready, a lot of people thought that was the best available spot, and he's shown up even against the Chiefs, showed up against the Cowboys. They said so. Like he shows up every week, and like he's a vet, and so he's I'm with you. It's just like there's other guys. I said I've watched parts of Jacksonville, and so I've seen some good things out of Travis Hunter, but I don't.
Yeah, this early in the season, it's kind of hard to tell.
There's nobody running away with that race so far, which is to be expected because like it's usually unless you're in a really bad situation or desperate for starters or there's no depth, that's a little bit hard to get on the field. It's usually at a slower pace. Get on the defensive side of the ball. You can usually draw up a couple packages on offense, whereas defense. So
rolling into our comeback player of the year here, I have Danny Dimes coming back from getting cut by the Giants last year and then hanging out in Minnesota for the end of the year, and then this year coming back and playing at an elite level, playing at a starter level up there in Indianapolis. So Danny Dimes is my comeback player of the year. CMC is definitely a good dark horse for there if he can stay healthy all year. I mean, they don't have a rushing touchdown yet. But CMC, I think, still has 4 touchdowns receiving throughout the year. So I expect him to get the run game going eventually. But as of now, I have CMC as my comeback player of the year, or my dark horse comeback player of the year candidate.
That's a good take. I honestly, I hate to just piggyback off you for defensive rookie of the year and this pick, but I'm gonna go with Danny Dimes as well. My preseason pick was Aiden Hutchinson, and then my dark horse was Danny Dimes for this exact reason. I thought the situation and what's played out so far, it was a good situation for him and having a good running game, actually having an offensive line as opposed to what New York had the previous couple of years, and then having a good defense, and then playing no offense, but a weaker AFC South. Yeah. Not that they've played a lot of their AFC South teams yet, but I'm just saying, and Aiden's played unreal the last 2 weeks, but I think one of the stories of the year so far has been Daniel Jones, and I think that the Colts are going to be there. We'll get to the playoff picks here in a few minutes. Our updated playoff picks, but I think the Colts are here to stay. They're a couple penalties, couple bonehead penalties from being 4-0, and I think the Colts will be there at the end of the year, and that'll be one of the stories everybody talks about for the regular seasons. Daniel Jones, so I think he'll win the award now.
Yeah, good pick. Predicting our playoff pictures here. We're going to start with the AFC. My AFC picks from last time is I have the Bills, the Bengals, the Broncos, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Chargers. Twitch had the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Texans, the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Steelers. So rolling into our new picks here, I have the Bills getting the 1 seed, obviously still number 1 overall. And then these are in no order at all. I mean, I have we'll go division winners here. I have the Chargers winning the West, AFC West. I have the Colts winning the South, and I have the Steelers winning the North.
Wow.
So those are my 4 picks, and then my next 3 teams that get in are the Broncos, Kansas City, and then I have the Jags as my pick, but I would not be surprised if the Ravens come back and get that pick. Especially, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers do what the Steelers do and kind of give it up at the end of the year, and then the Ravens come back and beat them for this win or the division. Yeah. But those are my AFC picks as of now. I think Kansas City. I meant to say this on the last podcast, so if you listened last week, and I'll say this again later, but I have a feeling the Kansas City Chiefs have a Tom Brady Super Bowl with the Bucs type run this year, where they get in. They might not have the most pretty record. I mean, the Bucs were 9-8 going into that playoff game, or going into that game against the. I think they were the Washington football team at the time, but the Commanders now playing against Heineke, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl because they have Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Mahomes is in my division, you could say, and I wish not the worst for Mahomes, but I don't want him to do good. But I think Mahomes is on that level of Tom Brady that if you get him to the dance, he will perform. Yeah. So I have Kansas City sneaking in as my 7 seed, getting in the last pick there in the playoffs. And then once Mahomes is in the playoffs, we all know his record's outrageously good. So those are my AFC picks, and I have Kansas City coming as the 7 seed.
Yeah, I've got 2 changes from when I started the year. So my 7, I don't have it seeded any particular way, but just my 7 teams. I say that, and then my 1 seed, the one I think is going to be representing the AFC is the Bills. I have the Bills, the Ravens, the Colts, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Broncos. So 2 new teams for me. Exchanged the Bengals and the Texans now for, I believe, in the Chargers and Colts. The question for me, for the AFC side of things, is I just feel that they're out of the 3. You have obviously your 4 division winners, and then so Chargers/Chiefs. I'm not giving up on the Chiefs to not go ahead and win the division still. But one of those, whoever doesn't win the division, Chargers/Chiefs, Steelers, Broncos, Jags. I see like Chargers/Chiefs being 1 pick, one has to win the division. I see those 4 teams as being the 3 fighting for the 3 wild card spots, and that's how I see the AFC playing out. I hate to say it, I really am a Steelers fan, but I still think the Ravens are the favorite to win the division. I know that we'll see with Jackson being out. But Chargers Chiefs, that's a coin flip. I can see it go either way. We're going to find out obviously more the next quarter of the season, but I do really believe that regardless of who's seated where, the Chargers and the Chiefs will both be playing in January. Yeah. So I have the Steelers and Broncos, like I said, I probably one of them is the 7 seed. So as the last team getting in.
Yeah. Rolling into our NFC picks here. Twitch's NFC picks were the Eagles, the Lions, the 49ers, the Bucks, the Commanders, the Packers, and the Seahawks. My picks were the Eagles, the Rams, the Packers, the Bucks, the Lions, the 49ers, and the Commies. So rolling into my NFC picks here, I have the Eagles still as the number 1 seed. They have to be knocked off. And then my NFC North winner, I have Detroit. My South winner, I still have the Bucks. And then my NFC West winner, I have the Seahawks getting that division. And then my next 3 teams getting in is the Green Bay Packers, the LA Rams, and the Commanders getting in there. I can see the Rams and the Seahawks. I feel like whoever wins those head-to-heads is really going to get the division there. Yeah. With the 49ers already going through their injuries again like last year. And then the Cardinals are down. The Cardinals are on a good record right now. I mean, they lose a close game to the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football last week, but I don't think they can sustain that throughout the year. So those are my NFC picks. Only one I have off is I have the 49ers out and I have the Rams in. That's my only change up from my first round. So
that is?
Yeah.
That's actually what I wrote down. That's what I have for mine. I have the Lions, the Eagles. I still have the Lions winning that division. Lions, Eagles, Bucks, Seahawks, Rams, Commanders, and Packers. Only difference being I had the Niners upsetting and winning the division. And like I said, that's what I've seen of Mac Jones. I know there'll be the jump's not going to be that much when Brock Purdy comes back. I don't feel like, and I'm a Brock Purdy fan or believer. Like he was kind of like got some injuries last year, and the whole team in San Francisco did.
Yeah.
But that being said, like I do think Seattle's for real. And then out of what I've seen out of the Rams so far, they're a bad second and a half away from beating two really good teams, and they are 4-0.
Yeah.
Or 3-1. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
They're
3-1, but
still they're kind of like the Colts. Like I said, they're a bad quarter from being 4-0. So, I have those. I have the Niners win the division. Now I have them on the outside looking in. That was the only team I switched, but the Rams win that division. And then it sounds like you kept most of the AFC teams the same, but how the Chiefs and how the Chargers get there,
Yeah.
and the Ravens Steelers, how you have them making the playoffs is different.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's our week 4,
But
obviously.
here's the surprise. Here's the kicker. Who would have thought after depleting their team that they would be in contention of winning the division for the Seattle Seahawks? Who
Yeah.
would have thought that?
Yeah, expect they kind of had a lot of question marks up there to start the year.
You lose Geno Smith to the Raiders. You lose DK Metcalf to the Steelers.
Yeah.
You lose a lot of key players.
New head coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Coach year 2, I mean.
So this could be the part 2 or 2.0 version of the Washington Commanders of last year, where you got a depleted team, a new staff, a new coaching era coming into this league, and now you have a new system, and then now you're winning with all the key players that you thought you had going into this year. They're gone.
Right.
So who would have thought? Seattle Seahawks. This is why we love football.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is exactly why we love
Yeah.
football.
Love the parody, man.
Oh yeah.
Your team might be really
You
good one
never
year.
know.
And I didn't have them win the division, I said, but I will say, like, our first preseason, I said I did have Seattle making the playoffs just because what I saw last year, and I knew it's a new team, new system, but I wasn't a Sam Darnold believer in New York and what he showed me last year in Kevin O'Connell's offense with Minnesota. So that, and then Kenneth Walker's, he's a dude, I mean, like top 10 running back, I said, and they've got some good playmakers. They have a really young defense. Their defense gets after them. And then Seattle being one of the top 5 hardest, at least loudest teams to play. So like and they also got Cooper Kupp. So they got some nice pieces. Like okay, here's somebody. They have the outside guys now. They added the perfect
Which is
inside
an
slot guy.
in-division trade, which normally does not happen.
Right. Well, and then you talk about the wide receiver that say his name?
Jackson Smith, Najigba.
Yes, a top 5 in most receiving categories: touchdowns, receptions, yards. And he's a rookie too, right?
No, this
Second
is
year?
year 2 for him.
Okay.
But yeah, and then like Leonard Williams coming over from the Giants last year,
Yeah.
defensive tackle, kind of getting life again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you stop playing for the Giants, you're going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Danny Dimes is our
Right.
my dark horse comeback player of the year is because he got out of the Giants organization.
Right.
And then another surprise you mentioned was on the NFC side was the Green Bay Packers. You didn't mention the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. You did mention that they were not going to win a division based on the fact that you had a division winner of Detroit winning a division. And you stick solid to that.
I still stick solid to it. And after the first 2 weeks, and I said that in the week 2 podcast, I was like, man, I hate to jump ship. I said, but Green Bay looked as dominant as anybody the first 2 weeks in that defense, and Micah Parsons, and they started to figure things out with Golden and
Josh Jacobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like I like the balance of Green Bay, but what I've seen the last 3 weeks, Green Bay getting that head to head, and so I didn't expect Detroit to fall off, but I just wanted to see like, okay, was that just a fluke game? And now Detroit looks just as good, if not better, than they did last year.
But it's cool.
So and like I said, I would be more hesitant to put them as division winners still, and I won't be shocked if Green Bay does because of how they started, and they've got a lot of nice pieces. But it's also concerning that you gave up 40 points again. It's also concerning that I know Cleveland's got a good defense, but you only put up 10 on the Browns, and so like they're 2-1-1. I said I still have them as a playoff team. I said, but like. That's one I'm not ready to jump off ship. I was after the first 2 weeks because the Commanders didn't beat the Lions the way they did, but they still got to play in Detroit, and I think Detroit's going to beat them. And I'm a believer. I think Detroit will be a top 2 NFC team.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Detroit's offense is rolling again.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it took them a little bit to get back to it, but once
Yeah.
they got back
Yeah.
rolling, I mean, they can beat you
Well, and another
all
week
different
with 5
ways.
sacks. So
It is.
what is it, like 12 sacks the last 2 weeks out of
Yeah.
Detroit?
It's
So
really
you add-
too early to tell in this season.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. It's only
But
it's week 5.
You had 11, 12 sacks the last 2 weeks from Detroit, and I'm sorry to be all over Detroit this episode, but 11 or 12 sacks the last 2 weeks combined. Their defense plays like that, and the offensive weapons they have, and Jared Goff playing at the level he's playing at, like that's a pretty balanced. I mean, we saw it last week. And that's another thing is not afraid to go into the Lions' den of Baltimore and win the way that they won. When Baltimore, every time that they took the lead, they responded right back. They didn't flinch at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it goes back to coaching. I think it goes back with Campbell. He has those guys prepared. So I'm going to go with that. Ask me again in 4 more weeks.
Yeah.
But I think Detroit will still win the division.
Yeah.
But I do think Green Bay's
Okay.
a playoff team.
Those are some questions that our fans have on the Sports Talk Radio here.
Sports Talk Radio. Yeah, expect one of these little sections. These are our updated playoff pictures and comeback player of the year pictures about every 4 weeks, every 5 weeks coming for the rest of the season. So make sure you drop down and you think we're crazy on anything or anything.
Let's hear your picks.
Yeah.
Drop your picks in the comments down below. But we're gonna
Your picks for football. Let me
Yeah.
specify.
picks for football. Don't need any MLB playoff picks or anything like that.
We don't need any D picks or any other picks.
Yeah.
Playoff picks.
Yeah,
Football,
playoff picks.
NFL only picks.
Yeah.
But we're gonna roll into our actual predictions for who's gonna win this game, these next
I
weeks.
don't need that confidence crusher.
Last week, Twitch beating my ass again, going 10-5-1
Ooh.
all day. I went 8-7-1. Lost a couple close games there, so that takes our total overall records to Twitch being 45-18-1 and Boxes 38-25-1. This week's our first week with buys, so the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, and the Steelers will not be playing this week.
Boo.
So just keep that in mind. So we're only picking 14 games this week, but we're gonna roll into our picks here coming up next. Rolling into our picks here. Don't have Greg or LSV to give us some classy, fun names of these every week, so I'm gonna do my best here. But our Thursday night football game to start off our NFL watching week is the 49ers at the Rams. Playing there in SoFi Stadium. I think the Rams get this one done. I like the Rams winning this. Rams have been hot. I mean, the way they won last week on a last minute drive. Hopefully Puka Nacua keeps up his job, and the 49ers are injury riddled right now. So I like the Rams in this one.
Yeah, same here. Rams, like I said, very close to being a 4-0 team. Matthew Stafford still playing at an insanely high level. Devontae Adams over the last 2 or 3 weeks, back-to-back weeks with a touchdown with Devontae Adams. Of course, we've already talked about several times about Puka. And so, like, the Rams look like a complete football team, and the Niners just look too depleted. And, I still had – they were one of my upset or dark horses to win – or, like, that's actually who I picked to win the division, and the Niners because of all the injuries they had last year. But I was like, surely not 2 years in a row, number one. And I still picked them in the pick – and granted, it's just the weekly pick 'em. I picked them last week because I thought Mac Jones would still play at a high level, and I know they lost close. They lost to a probably better than expected Jaguars team, but I just don't trust that San Francisco. Even with Shanahan, I don't trust that offense, and for that reason, I'm picking the Rams.
Rolling into a London game here, 8:25 kickoff again for all you early morning NFL Plus subscribers or however you watch those games. Is Vikings at Browns. Vikings getting another overseas game. And for that reason, I'm taking the Vikings to win this one. I don't know if Germany and England are in the same time zone, but it has to be a lot easier.
Closer.
Has to be a lot easier to go from Germany to England than it is to go from Cleveland all the way over to England, in my opinion. So I have the Vikings winning this one just because, even though they're their quote away team for out here, I have them
Put
winning.
it on jet lag time.
Yeah, jet lag, and I mean the Browns' defense I think will still probably show up and make it a hard game, but I just think the Vikings having the advantage of staying over there for another whole nother week and not having to adapt is going to give them the edge in this one, especially 8:25 kickoff, all the weird stuff happening, like the Vikings.
Yeah, I like the Vikings as well. I know that obviously they came up short against us, I said, but did a lot of good things. Like Wentz had the 2 turnovers, but he also threw for 350 and just ran out of time.
Yeah.
Still had almost a 100-yard rusher. They were getting pressure on the quarterback the second half, really shut things down. And so, like I said, I didn't realize until I was watching that game, the Steeler-Viking game last week, that number one, is this the first time anyone's ever had 2 overseas games
back to back?
Definitely back to back, but in the same season. And then, what did the Vikings do to piss off the football guys, the schedule makers? But like you said, with the familiarity and already kind of being on that schedule, and I don't kind of what I said about San Francisco. I don't trust the Browns' offense, and I think Minnesota does just a little bit more. So,
yeah. Rolling into our first 12 o'clock game here, the Broncos at the Eagles, playing in the city of brotherly love. Eagles are 4-0, Broncos classy 2-2. As a Broncos fan here, I'm going to ride or die with my team. I'm going to take the Broncos. I think this game could be a really good game if the Broncos defense shows up to play. I mean, Patrick Tan last night only allowed 12 receiving yards to Jamar Chase. He was a top 3 receiver in the league, number 1 to a lot of people. So I like the Broncos defense. It's just if the Broncos offense can figure out how to run the ball against this extremely dominant defensive line for the Eagles. But I like the Broncos in this one. I think the Broncos can pull it out. This might be Eagles' first loss, and the Eagles they might lose to somebody that they're not supposed to, and I feel like that's going to be their game.
He's like, why not us?
This is also my team, so why not us?
Screw the Broncos Eagles fans, and you get the Broncos team listening. I like what I saw out of Denver last night. Bo Nix, I said, needed to put together a full, complete game. Had a really good half, especially a good first half against the Colts and last week against the Chargers. I said, so it was nice to see them. Dobbins has looked really good, looking like prime Ravens days Dobbins.
Yeah.
But it's at Philly, and like you said, that defensive front with Jalen Carter and some of those guys for Philly's defense, I think they shut down the run. I think Denver keeps it a lot closer than what some people might anticipate. But I like Philly at home.
As long as they're not spitting on anybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jalen Carter, if you want to split on Bo Nix and get ejected, go for it, buddy. But it takes us to our next game is Texans at Ravens, and we have the Ravens on upset alert here. Cooper Rush starting, Lamar probably going to be out this week, so I like the Texans in this one getting the win. I mean, it is still over there in Baltimore. Baltimore's a tough place to play. Their defense is still intact. That offense is still intact, and Derrick Henry's still going to run the ball down the field. But with DeMarco Murray being a defensive-minded head coach, I think he's going to come up with a good enough plan to where they can limit Derrick Henry and make them pass the ball, and then you have a backup in Cooper Rush, who played last year for the Cowboys, but has never really been anything flashy or anything crazy. I think the Texans get it done. Texans get a gritty win last week against the Titans. Bunch of field goals, not really too many touchdowns.
Well, didn't they win? Did they win 26-0?
Yeah, or 24. Yeah, there's only 20-something points to the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
So, their offense was still kind of struggling, and we know what the Titans look like. But I like the Texans getting it done here. I think DeMarco Murray is going to have the defense flying around enough, and I think C.J. Stroud hopefully is smart enough with the ball that can get it done here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could see the Ravens still winning this game, but this is upset. I mean, if you're a Ravens fan, you're probably a little worried looking into this game.
Yeah, I see. Before the podcast, that's why we added that segment as far as for upset alert, because it's on the one hand, I'm I've said it all. I'm a believer in the Texans defense, even through the 3 losses. They're aggressive, they get after it, and I'm also a believer. I'm surprised at what I've seen so far as C.J. Stroud. And let's be honest, Baltimore's defense, and they played Kansas City and they played Detroit, 2 of the better teams in the NFL, but their defense has not looked like Kyle Van Noy or not. And they also don't have Roquan Smith now.
Yeah.
That's another perennial All-Pro type player, not just Pro Bowl All-Pro, and so that's a big loss for their defense. And again, I'm talking in a circle because I'm still gonna pick the Ravens. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna be shocked because I believe in C.J. Stroud and I believe in that offense. I said, but just Baltimore and where I have them finishing and where they started the year and how desperate they are and how bad they played last week, I expect them to play better. They'll be predictable. Cooper Rush has showed a lot even in his early days in Dallas. I mean, as far as he's not on that level, but almost like a Ryan Fitzpatrick, a short little He's probably taller than me, but
Yeah.
for NFL standards,
NFL short quarterback.
short quarterback, nothing flashy. It's but above the line athleticism as a backup quarterback. I think he makes enough plays. So I don't think he's better than C.J. Stroud, but I just think Baltimore's defense plays a lot better, and just how close I expect the game to be, but how tough Baltimore is to play at. So I'm picking the Ravens just for the fact that they desperately need this game. I know the Texans do too, but
Yeah. Rolling into another game here is I'm excited to see this one, to see how Jackson Dart plays, but I have the Giants at the Saints. Saints are 0-4. They're competing for the number 1 draft pick right now.
they played the Bills tough.
Yeah, they play. I mean, the Saints for people sleeping on the Saints, which you should be sleeping on the Saints this year. They're not all around. They're not the best team, but you go watch. They're not as bad as people think.
Yeah.
Like I think they beat the Titans, who are looking for the number 1 spot still, number 1 draft pick. But I have the Giants winning this one. I think Jackson Dart. This can be his. Last week was okay, we beat a good team, but this is his week of, okay, we're playing a not as good team without Malik Neighbors. Let's see what him and Scalaboo and I don't even know who else is on their offense. Wan'Dale Robinson's out there.
Yeah.
But I like the Giants in this one. I think it's at the Saints, though, so this could be the Saints' first win against a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
But I like the Giants in this one just because that Giants defense has been flying around. I mean, holding the Chargers, who have been top 5 offense in the league, top 3 offense in the league up to this point, holding them to 18 points last week was huge.
Yeah.
So I think building that confidence, I got the Giants in this one.
Yeah. I have the Giants as well. I think New Orleans is obviously got some older guys that have probably done the last couple of years, and also it's like they don't have anything in the middle. They have inexperienced guys and veterans that are past their prime.
Yeah, they have
nothing really to hang their hat on. And whereas the Giants, I said, yeah, they're 1-3, but they played a pretty good Commanders team. We expect to still be pretty good this year. Lost a close game, lost to the Chiefs close, lost to the Cowboys. So they've been putting up points, and just we talked about at the beginning of the show, just what I've seen out of Jackson Dart and that excitement for New York and what he brings to the huddle. Is that, yeah, it's a huge loss having your best offensive weapon and Neighbors being out for the year. That I'm disappointed because he's one of my favorites to watch play because he was still showing up even last year and this year. But even without Neighbors, I feel like the Giants are going to ride that wave of beating a good team, and the Saints aren't very good, and so yeah, I think the Giants get another win this week.
Yeah. Rolling into another interesting game here. It could be a trap game almost. Is Cowboys at the Jets. Jets lose to the Dolphins last night in a this kind of close game, I guess you could say. It was kind of not fun to watch. As you could say, it was a lot of low-scoring offense. And then the Cowboys last week coming out and playing arguably like a top 5 NFC team and getting a tie. So, I mean, it's not a loss. But
Getting the cousin.
getting a tie with the Packers there for 40-40 on Sunday Night Football last week. I like the Cowboys winning this one at MetLife. I think Dak Prescott's leading the NFL in passing yards right now. And last week he showed that without CD, I think the Cowboys, I'm not saying CD's not really good for their offense, but they might be better without CD because it forces him to get the ball to a Turpin and a Pickens and a Ferguson more instead of CD getting 15 targets a game. You can distribute that around to all your other playmakers. Javonte Williams is playing really good. I hope he look like at Denver at some point after his ACL tear, but he hasn't. But he's looking really good there, rushing the ball. So I like the Cowboys getting it done at the Meadowlands this week.
Yeah, I have the Cowboys as well. Last night I was watching the Jets and their offense struggle. Dallas's defense has looked great especially the last 3 weeks, week 2 through 4, giving up over 30 in each one of those contests. That being said, the Jets don't have a great offense. They have Garrett Wilson. They have Hall. but like you said, Dak Prescott leading the NFL in passing yards, and sore subject for me. Because I never wanted to get rid of George Pickens. I've said from the get-go, people talk about his prima donna attitude, some in Pittsburgh. I said, but the guy's just a dog, as they say. I said he is a dog. He shows up every week. He can make every single catch. He's just as good as CeeDee Lamb. And I know people looked at me like I was crazy at the beginning of the year. But he can make every single catch. This is where it could really help Dallas down the stretch. Is they had just started to figure it out before CeeDee went down in week 3. started each week progressively getting the ball Pickens more, and then Pickens goes off. He was my honorable mention for this week for his $140 and 2 touchdowns on Sunday Night Football. And that was still a good Packers team. And so, like, now, again, like I said, getting those other guys, this will be a good tune-up for them, games like this. So when CD does come back in a few weeks, they've kind of worked around, like, getting these other guys incorporated. But Dallas, I feel like, adjusted well last week after having a bad offensive showing again in Chicago against a good Green Bay defense. I still don't know what's going on in Green Bay the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have the Cowboys going into MetLife and getting the win, I think.
Yeah. A game that interesting game here is we have the Raiders at the Colts. I like the Colts in this one. Colts lose last week. Danny Dimes throws 2 picks. But that Raiders defense, as long as you double team Max Crosby, I don't see too much getting affected across the board there. I could see Genty. The Colts have had problems stopping the run. They showed that with the Rams last week. And Genty, having the week he had last week, could make it an interesting game. But I like the Colts in this one at home. They're in the house that Peyton built, getting it done against the Raiders.
I have the Colts as well, just because of the level of Danny Dimes. And then last week was Swift in Chicago, and some of those guys being able to run the ball on the Raiders. I expect that to continue this week with Jonathan Taylor, a top 5 running back. And then, so they've got Indianapolis has a good young linebacking core, so I think they can take away Bowers, so it makes them one-dimensional in a lot of ways. We'll see. I feel like the Raiders will keep it close for a while with Geno Smith, and yeah, I think at the end of the day that the Colts walk away with the W here.
Yeah, as long as their player doesn't, celebrate too early and drop the ball again.
So they're and like I said, and Jonathan Taylor had like a 70-some-yard touchdown call back too, and it was 2 holding calls. I said so like they're that close from being 4-0.
Very much so. A game that should be flexed to 3 a.m. to start off the game is we have the Dolphins at the Panthers. Who knows? Panthers last week come out and less than impress again. Yeah. And the Dolphins get their first win. Darren Waller, who I forgot was playing football again, getting 2 touchdowns for the Miami Dolphins last night without Tyreek Hill. But who knows what the Panthers are going to look like. But I'm going to hop on the Panthers train here and say that every other week they're going to be good for the rest of the year. So I'm going to take the Panthers in this one, beating the Dolphins down, or beating the Dolphins at home, just because. Last week they played an improving Patriots team, and they beat the Falcons 30-0 2 weeks ago now. So give me the Panthers, I guess. Yeah,
they had a little step back last week. Yeah. But I actually have the Panthers as well. Not a whole lot to say about it. Yeah, I didn't see a lot from the Dolphins. They looked better last night. They played competitive against Buffalo. Coming into the year, they were on that borderline playoff cusp. They still have Jalen Waddle. They still have, Tua had a good game last night against the Jets. And so it's Bryce Young, second-year player, really unproven. I don't know where it's going to come. But like you said, like you kind of mentioned, I think that, 2 weeks ago when the last time they played at home, they played really well. And I think that, Carolina, other than last week, has played pretty competitive the 3 weeks prior to that. And I expect them to keep it close and winning it at the end.
Yeah. Rolling into our Twitch and Box game of the week here, been flexed to 325 out of the 305 slot, as we have the Buccaneers at the Seahawks, both leading their division right now. Bucks and Seahawks, I feel like it's at the 12th man, it's up there in Washington. So I have the Bucks winning this one. I think Baker Mayfield and Ibuke and Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving and Rashad White, and Tristan Wirfs, Vita Vea, I can just keep going, Levante David. I think after the way they lost last week, I think hurt them. Obviously, that's a good NFC team, but I think this is the win that, looking down the stretch, the Bucs can hang their hat on, saying, "Yeah, we beat another playoff team over there. Like, we can hang with these guys." So I think the Bucs get right this week at Seattle, but also it is Seattle, really hard place to play. Seattle's back, like we talked about a little bit earlier, with Seattle getting back to 12th man football, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So, but I like the Bucs getting it done up there, and I don't even know what the name of their stadium is. This is 12th man stadium.
Is it still Quest?
It might be. I don't know.
I don't know.
They're one of those weird ones.
I actually have the Seahawks in this one. If this game was played on a neutral site or in Tampa, I'd probably pick Tampa. I've been saying it all year, but don't sleep on the Seahawks and the nice 1-2 punch that they have at wide receiver. Sam Darnold being a good point guard, really played exceptional the last 3 weeks. I think he's one of the ones that's been flying completely under the radar. But watching them, I hate to say it, dominate my Steelers and then come out and it looked really good against a bad Saints team, but they looked dominant. And then last week, I know they had kind of a up and down second half against the Cardinals, but they took care of business, and that's a divisional game anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is going to come down right to the end as well. It's hard for me because I said I really like watching Baker, and I am still a Bucs believer. But I think that the Seahawks it's in Seattle, and I do think they're that good.
Yeah.
I have the Seahawks winning that one actually. Their defensive line gets really good pressure. That's what they hang their hat on. Kenneth Walker, good running game. So they have 2 really good wide receivers. Cooper Kupp can still like you said. I mean, with Puka, it's like he's one of those guys that can get 8-10 catches a game.
Yeah.
Get first downs for you.
Be consistent.
It gives them a good security blanket. And so I'm really looking forward to that game, and I'm assuming the next game you're going to talk about as far as the 3:00 games.
Yeah, I have next game. This is probably not the one you're talking about, but the Titans at the Cardinals.
Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah, this is not the game you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
But in the words, Titans are not good. In the words of Cam Ward, the starting quarterback, he's going to keep it 100. They ass. They're not good. They're cheeks.
The cheeks.
But I like the Cardinals in this one. The Cardinals look good. They lose a tough game last week. I enjoy watching Kyler Murray play football. I forget that until I see him on TV. Like, I remember watching him at Oklahoma, and I was like, wow, this guy's like, he's a different quarterback. You know, he's on the shorter side of the quarterback spectrum, but he's still out there running around making plays. It's fun watching him get out of the pocket because he's got that, not even Lamar Jackson wiggle, but he's got the Kyler Murray sidestep wiggle that he always does. Mm-hmm. So I like the Cardinals getting it done this one out there in State Farm Stadium in Arizona.
Yep, I have that one the same as well. I have the Cardinals taking care of business. Cardinals losing a couple close games the last couple of weeks and being above average, whereas the Titans are going to be fighting for that number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, for sure.
It's Arizona, which traditionally, even in years that they're down, Arizona usually has a pretty good home record. Yeah. And so I like Kyler Murray and some of those guys take care of business in Arizona.
Yeah. And then another game that was supposed to be the 325 game, they got flexed to 305, is the Lions at the Bengals. I think with Joe Burrow, this game's obviously 10 times more interesting. But I have the Lions winning this one. Lions have been rolling, like 38 last week, 50, 52, and 50-something the 2 weeks before. Yeah. So I think the Lions keep it rolling there and rolling into the Bengals territory. I like the Lions in this one. Bengals suck now unless they trade for a quarterback.
Right. No, and I'm glad you said that because I'm just wondering if they – with the offensive output that they've had the last 2 weeks against Denver last night, again, I understand that's a good defense, and then playing the Vikings the week before, like their offenses looked atrocious. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they lose, especially like that again, if they don't go out and actually get a quarterback. Yeah. But yeah, this one's a no-brainer. I don't care where this game's played. I'm picking the Lions. Cincinnati obviously does, and I know you say any given Sunday. And
not this Sunday.
There's certain games where just like you almost bet 100%, and that's one of them. I don't care if it's in Cincinnati. Like, there's no way of what I've seen the last couple of weeks, and then with the offensive efficiency of Detroit the last 3 years, that I can see Cincinnati keeping pace with Detroit. Yeah. No way. Especially because Cincinnati. I saw when you were talking about the Broncos, and I guess you'll probably talk about that when you talk about the state of the Broncos. But there was one play last night with those edge rushers. Kudos to the Broncos for the 2 young guys on the edge, but there was literally 5 offensive linemen, and Denver brought 3, and four. Do you see that? 4 Bengals players were blocking 1 player. The other 2 guys went untouched.
They put 4 guys
were blocking Zach the middle of the field. So that's what Cincinnati's dealing with as far as Finn, as far as their offensive line and like the way Detroit's rushing the quarterback, the balance they have. I'm sorry if I spent too much time talking about that. There's not a whole lot else to say.
Yeah. I mean, rolling into our next game here, the game you were talking about earlier, excited about, is the Commanders at the Chargers. Chargers lose a tough game. Both these teams are looking for wins this week after losing last week. The Commanders' loss is I mean, neither here nor there. That doesn't necessarily hurt them down the stretch. But the Chargers losing in New York doesn't really hurt them either. But I think the Chargers get back at home this week. Jalen Daniels is expected to come back, but that's also if he this week goes good across the board for him. But I like the Chargers getting back this week. I think Harbaugh's going to have the boys flying around after losing to a gritty Giants team last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have the Chargers winning as well, just because I'm a believer. I'm a believer in both these teams. I still have both of them making the playoffs. Jaden Daniels is one of my favorite young players to watch. However, that uncertainty on top of even if it does come back, playing against a really good team, coming on the road and coming off an injury, and just the balance that the Chargers bring between Keenan Allen and Jackson, and then so Justin Herbert up until last week, and I'm not necessarily saying that it takes him off that list. I said, but he was on that short list of 6 or 7 people as far as playing at MVP level. And so, really good Chargers defense, especially if Jaden Daniels plays. Like I said, this will be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah.
But whether he plays or not, I have the Chargers winning this one, just because I'm a believer in coming off a loss like that. I think that Harbaugh will have him ready, and yeah.
Rolling into a Sunday night football game here, we have the Patriots at the Bills. Bills are going white out. They're wearing their new rivalry snowsuit uniforms. All white. The stadium's supposed to be white out. They're going to give white towels out. So I like the Bills in this one. I think the Bills get it done against the Patriots. The Patriots are an improved team. I can see the Patriots making it a good game, a good close game to watch. But I think the Bills still pull it out with that Josh Allen clutch factor. Yeah. He's not going to lose to an in-division rival.
I don't even see it being a close game. And then, I talked about being a believer in Mike Vrabel and Drake May coming out and looking really good even 2 weeks ago against us. So we're looking a lot better the last 2 weeks for New England's offense. Some of the other games we talked about, though, not at that level, not at Josh Allen's level. And I think the Bills, kudos to them. Yeah, they played a quote-unquote, there's no such thing as an easy win in the NFL, regardless of what people say. But that being said, having an easier schedule for the Bills, and they're just stacking wins. They know what they're playing for. They've been on the cusp the last couple of years. And with the Chiefs starting off to a slow start and the Ravens starting off, Bills having the favorable schedules, they're stacking up wins, and I expect them to take care of business at home, and especially on prime time. So,
yeah, I mean, rolling into Monday Night Football here, got the Chiefs in Duval against the Jags. I think Kansas City rolls from last weekend and rolls into Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been good, beat the 49ers last week, but I like the Chiefs. They took a step last week and got Worthy involved, and I think rolling down in Jacksonville on a Monday Night Football, I think Andy Reid's going to have the boys, the guys flying around looking good. And I think even Worthy's back. Obviously, last week they got the run game established. We'll break that down in our episode of the state of the Broncos, Chiefs, Steelers, Raiders, and whoever else we want to talk about. Look for that one coming out before this episode drops. But I like the Chiefs in this one getting it done down in Duval.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's a nice 3-1 story. It's prime time. They don't get a lot of prime time games in Jacksonville, so I expect it to be maybe close for a little bit. But last week just reminded me why I won't pick against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Maybe again the rest of the year, just because we talked about it after the Eagles game, and we talked about the importance of having Xavier Worthy and having a true number one, and he's the guy that can take the top off the defense. And so guys aren't playing within that 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, playing in a zone. To whereas now guys like Thornton, who showed up the third straight touchdown, but guys like Thornton and Hollywood Brown, well, now you only want a single coverage Worthy. He's your big play guy, and it was evidenced by the first time Kansas City had the ball in each half, first series of the game for them, and then in the third quarter, getting Worthy the ball just on a simple handoff just to get him warmed up, just to get him the ball in his hands, and a guy like that, I said that opens it up to where now guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, guys like Thornton in the middle that are facing the third and fourth or facing the linebacker or like opens things up for the passing game. What we saw, and mind you, I don't want to get off too in tangent because we're talking about this week, not the rest of the season. But Chiefs also getting Rice back, so in a couple of weeks, and so I think Kansas City figured something out, and they remind everybody that we're still the Chiefs, that they didn't panic. That was. I wasn't going to be shocked if the Chiefs won last week, but like how they won was as impressive. Patrick Mahomes sent a clear message that everyone that wants to put everybody above Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, like, oh, they're done, stick a fork in them. and they responded absolutely. And so I like same thing. The same thing as a couple of the other games we picked, like the game above. Like I don't think that Jacksonville has the offense to keep up. I expect Kansas City's offense to keep that same pace this week.
Yeah. Well, those are our picks for the week. Appreciate Shannon for having us out here at the Cannon Compound.
It's my pleasure. You guys are always welcome here at the Cannon Compound here at Lakeside Village for life. In lieu of Greg, Scary Gary Hopkins being out this week, we do think about him. We do appreciate him bringing all this together. And, yeah.
Huge shout out, Greg, hosting us every week. Appreciate Shannon having us out this week. Appreciate Twitch for coming out this week again and hopping in here on this Twitch and Box Sports Talk. But that wraps up our Week 5 talk. Hope everybody has a great week. Hope all your bets hit. Hope you all stay safe this weekend. Go watch some college football if you have time. College football is really good right now. We have Texas playing, I don't remember, they're playing ranked game. We have Oregon and Indiana playing this week at 2:30. So a couple good games out there. But hope everybody has a great week. Hope all your bets hit. Hope all your picks hit. And have a great week.